What's it gonna take for you to finally break up with your bullshit? Think what you could do if you could only break up with your bullshit.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Break Up With Your Bullshit podcast. I'm Michelle Akin, and today I have a really awesome guest. His name is Ming Chen. He was on the show Comic Book Men on AMC. He played the Asian, and he played himself. It's a reality show. And he's going to tell a really amazing story about how making a fan website for a movie that he really loved launched his entire career and had him land a job with Kevin Smith. Super cool. We also get into what bullshit he's still running on himself around like the book he wants to write and a bunch of other things that he wants to do. And we decide that we're going to make a TV show together. So lots of exciting things happen in this episode. I hope you like it. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Hello, Ming.
Hello, Michelle.
Thanks for being here.
Anytime. I'm always here for you. You know that, right?
I do know that. You say that a lot.
Yeah, I mean it too.
Yeah, you're a cool friend. You immediately go right to like, hey, I'll do anything for you. And I'm like, oh, you're like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag or nothing, but we need more people like us in the world.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
So this is the first ever episode of Break Up With Your Bullshit.
I love it. I love the name. I love the concept. I love the philosophy.
Thanks.
I love the inspiration. And I can't wait to talk about this because I think everybody out there needs to break up with their bullshit.
It's very true.
And I am full of bullshit. I think a lot of people are. But
I think that's one of the funny things is that there's this perception that if you've done a lot and if you've achieved a lot in life that you've completely rid yourself of any sort of bullshit, and it's not true.
Oh, absolutely not.
One of the things I want to discover when I talk to people is what bullshit are you still on? You know, and not yet, because
okay.
I want to talk about.
I was like waiting to jump out of the cake already.
I know. I feel like that's like the punchline after.
Sure.
So people get that even if you've achieved a lot, you're still human,
right.
and you still, there's still limitations and limiting beliefs and stuff like that. So I'd love to start by talking about how we know each other.
Oh.
So what do you remember about how we know each other?
I remember, so there's a networking group out here, and I gotta give a big shout out to the Shore Hustle networking group out here. Bar none, I'm not even a member, so I'm not biased at all, but one of the best networking groups I've ever been
thank you.
Somewhat associated with.
Yeah.
And I remember I never actually joined because there was the time commitments. I was traveling.
You're always
a lot.
gone. You're never around. It's a weekly commitment, y'all.
Yeah, which I just couldn't commit to. Like I knew that off the bat. So I was like, listen, guys, you guys are amazing. I love you guys, but I can't be here every week.
Yep.
But they would always keep me in mind for these kind of one-off events, networking events. And I remember there was some kind of Christmas breakfast.
We meet at 7 a.m. So it was around the holidays.
Yeah.
So we had a holiday breakfast party, and it was it may have even been the first time I went.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't a member yet, and I was telling somebody there, oh yeah, I did YouTube and all this stuff, and he just goes, you got to meet Ming, and like brought me to you because he was like, oh, you're the same, you should talk to each other. I was like, absolutely.
That was very true. Yeah, but I think I was introduced to you, and you were immediately like, yeah, I love Harry Potter. I was like, oh, I think I like this girl.
That was right around the time that I got my tattoo.
Yeah, but you were like delightfully nerdy, which is
thanks.
Always a great quality.
Agree.
And you make friends instantly that way, whereas 20 years ago when I was a kid, when you were delightfully nerdy, you got no friends.
Yeah, but I think that's what gives us character now,
oh,
is
for
that
sure.
we were not very accepted. And I don't know what it's like for kids now, because you can kind of get online and find your people. And we didn't have that.
No, we didn't.
We had to create that.
Yeah, very isolating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought you were pretty cool off the bat.
Well, thanks.
So.
And I was excited about that because I knew that you were in some way connected with Kevin Smith, who is a hero of mine. And I was just like, what? I instantly got, after I met you, I was like, okay, I need to talk to him because I want to understand, like, how that happened.
Yeah.
So I asked you to lunch, and you brought me for my first ramen.
Yes, pho.
Oh, yeah, no,
Pho.
you're
It
right.
was pho.
That's right.
Big difference.
Big difference. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot.
You're about to start a war between Japan and Vietnam now.
I forgot.
You forgot?
Yeah.
That's I'll forgive you.
Please forgive us, everyone.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful and mesmerizing. And the whole time I was at lunch with you, I was like, I wish we were recording this.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to tell people what you told me.
Yeah. I don't remember what I told you.
I don't remember either, but I trust that it will be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like I just asked you, like, so what's your deal? Like,
I think that's the question on most people's lips is like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, how did
what
you?
is your life?
Right, and I can't even explain it.
Yeah, it's
to
hard.
be honest with you.
But I relate. I get that.
Yeah, somehow got a job with Kevin Smith, which led me to podcasting. The podcasting led to 7 seasons on a reality TV show called Comic Book Men on the AMC network that aired after The Walking Dead. Like, this is not these are not things that I planned out at all. These are not things that I had on any kind of bucket list or anything. It just happened.
What did you have planned in your head?
You know what? That's a great question because I don't, some people have like the 5-year plan, or they know what, or maybe they know somewhat what they want to do. I through most of my life, I did not. So
I guess I didn't either, but I knew, I knew what I didn't want to do.
Right.
Well,
yeah. I only knew what I didn't want to do by watching the movie Say Anything. It's like, I don't want to buy anything bought or sold, or like, I don't want to buy any products bought, sold, or whatever that speech is. Like that, I knew that. And then I knew my first job was for a nonprofit. Then I entered the corporate world, and I quickly realized I didn't want to do that either.
What did you do?
I graduated. So this all. My professional life stems in like web design. I learned very early on how to build websites back in 1994. So if you go back to that era, there was no Amazon, no Google. Google didn't exist. There was no Facebook, no Instagram, no TikTok.
That was the days when
Twitter.
if I liked a song on the radio, I had to sit with my boombox and wait for it to come on.
And then Napster came along.
Oh my gosh, I went nuts when Napster came along.
So did I.
I went nuts.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I could download any song I want for free? This is crazy. Yeah, I
downloaded and my dad built computers for us all. We all had our own computer.
Awesome.
He was Earth, I was, I think, Neptune, but we all had our own.
Oh, your network
planet.
names. Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
great.
I had that when other kids who were rich and I was not had like a family computer. I had my own computer because my dad built it.
Baller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned how to build websites super early on. That led me to, and I did this in college. So instead of going to class, I was building websites.
That's how you know what you're supposed to be doing. It's what you do when you're trying to avoid things.
I think it is. And kids are like, hey, I'm going to college for this. Do you think that's a good idea? I was like, listen, you may go to college thinking you want to do that, and you'll discover something completely different.
Totally.
Follow that.
Right, 100%.
Follow that, because it worked for me. So.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, I was like, wow, I think there might be a future in this internet thing, and websites were not prominent back then. Like every business did not have a website back then. So I kind of saw that maybe this would be the future. Like I remember the first time this travel agency was like, hey, we heard you build websites. I'm like, yeah, why? Like, we'll give you $100 to build one for us. I'm like, you're gonna pay me?
This thing I'm doing for fun because I'm a freaking nerd.
Yeah,
you're gonna give me money?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of learned use that for the rest of your life, even.
Right.
Do whatever you like doing for fun, and then get money out of it. That way it doesn't feel like work.
Right. I mean, it still does sometimes. I find like there's work, but then there's because everything feels like work. Anyone who's written a book or there comes a point when you just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah. Well, when clients get demanding, then you're like, why am I doing this?
But that too.
Yeah. So once I found out people were paying for this, I was like, I got to get out of college. I got to graduate now. What's the quickest way out of here?
Yeah.
And I went to my advisor. He was like, well, based on what you're doing now, you could get a degree in communications and be out in 6 months. I was like, all right, done. Tell me the classes I have to take, and then sign whatever paper you need to sign off on that. So that's what happened, and I was right about the job. I got hired literally 2 weeks after I graduated.
That's awesome.
Like a real job, like health benefits, all this stuff that I wasn't used to, a salary.
What was your salary? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it was $35,000.
Nice.
Not bad. Not bad for a starting job. Like full health benefits.
Yeah.
Very good company. and I didn't even know what was going on. But based on what I was doing and how early on it was, I think they saw, I was like, well, this guy built websites. That's what we need. Well, we need him now.
Right.
Yeah. So I remember I went to the interview, and before the interview, I got an email from the guy interviewing me. He was like, hey, we'll do the interview at like 4:30, and then we're going to take you out to dinner afterwards. And I'm like, okay. And then I was thinking, it's like, well, what if I suck? What if the interview goes wrong?
They were just banking on you.
Right.
Like, we're
Like, you
in this
don't
guy.
invite a guy to dinner after an interview unless you really want him to work. So unless it was a total disaster, which it wasn't. It wasn't great, though. I didn't really prepare for this interview.
And you needed to be?
I guess not. But I could have.
Sure.
Now looking back, I could have been a little more. Could have answered questions with a little more confidence.
Sure.
It was my first job, though. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and they weren't hiring me to do public speaking. They were hiring
No.
me to sit behind a computer and build websites. So, so that got me into my professional career. Yeah, the first job was great. It's for a nonprofit corporation in the Virginia area. Helping other internet entrepreneurs find each other. The problem was, though, I was totally not into this.
Right.
Yeah. However, at this point, I had started doing stuff on the side for Kevin Smith. And I got connected with him because I made a fan website for his first movie, Clerks.
Wait, you got to start back at that you were working at a video place, weren't you? Or you took the video out? Start there.
Yeah. When I was in college, I worked... I got this. I was looking for like a job where I didn't have to work very much, and I got hired at this little dumpy video store at the inside of the student union, and it was so dumpy. Like, we only had one copy of whatever movie was available.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough room, and back then the direct to rental market, like every video was like $100. So
yeah,
our owner didn't want to buy like 5 copies.
Yeah,
we weren't Blockbuster.
Right.
And that really worked out for them.
Rest
too,
in
didn't
peace.
It? Rest in peace. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's one Blockbuster
There's
left.
one up in Alaska
or
whatever. Yeah. But one day this movie Clerks came in, and somebody told me it was funny, and I didn't really care that it was funny. It was shot in New Jersey, which the girl I was dating at the time was from New Jersey. So I was like, oh, maybe I can watch it and then make fun of her, and then maybe later on we could watch it together if it's a good movie. So I took it home that night, and my brother was home. I was like, hey, man, you want to watch this? You're not doing anything. And we popped it in the VHS player, hit play, and I was it literally changed my life, this movie. But
I think it had that effect on a lot of kids, and maybe it did for me because I grew up in New Jersey, and so it was like, wait, that's like by me. Like, that's oh my gosh. And
Leonardo, I think I know where that is.
Yeah, and then every kid that I knew that was into film, they were into film because of Kevin Smith. They were into film because of Clerks, and we were like making our own movies because of that.
Yeah, I didn't know much about film, but all I knew is that this guy's dialogue was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. Like, this guy, the characters in the movie talk like me and my friends do. And what I think the thing that really struck me was like, holy crap, there's a whole like 9-minute joke about stormtroopers changing out toilets in the Death Star. I'm like, this guy's talking about Star Wars, and
it's like every nerdy conversation they've ever had in a closed room where no one's listening, but in a movie.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize this now, but in 1994, no one was talking about Star Wars. Return of the Jedi came out in '83, and then there was this big nothing happened until the late '90s.
Yeah.
So except for me and my friends, we watch Star Wars constantly and quote it.
Dude, can I tell you, my mom always told me, you won't like Star Wars. She like wouldn't let me watch it because she was like, nah, you won't like that. And I didn't like that she said that to me. And we had the box set of the trilogy. I was born in '85.
Right.
So, it was all out. And I remember I took the trilogy and I went into my room and I put the first one on.
Yeah.
And I literally sat down on the floor in front of the TV and watched the whole first one. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
Took the second one, put it in.
Wow.
Fell asleep watching it, woke up, finished it, watched Jedi.
Third one, yeah.
And then I was just like,
you're in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't believe she wouldn't let me watch this. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how old I was, but yeah, it does that.
That's so cool. Yeah, but this movie Clerks was kind of like that. I became obsessed with it. I was just the dialogue. I think when you discover something cool and new, you want other people to love it too.
100%.
So you start telling everybody about it. The
Right.
problem with Clerks is it's a low budget,
Yeah.
black and white movie shot
It's a
in
tough sell.
grainy 16 millimeter. It was the extremely tough sell. I wanted all my friends to watch it so we could talk about it, and they're like, "Well, what's it about?" It's about two dudes at a convenience store.
Yeah. There's not much plot.
Right. Is that, and it's like, well, there are a couple of these weird stoners named Jane, Silent Bob. They hang out outside. They're in there too. And they're like, well, anything else? I'm like, no, that's pretty much it. They would look at the box. They're like, is this in black and white? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, it's almost like asking someone to watch a foreign film.
Yeah, they were like, is this an art film? I'm like, in a way, yes, it's very artsy, but in a New Jersey way.
Yeah, like it's scrappy, you got to get a film done. Film is expensive. You get it in black and white.
Yeah. And I can't blame them. 1994 saw movies like Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Stargate. These are the movies.
Shawshank's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh yeah, top 5, definitely. And these are the movies they wanted to go see, and I was like, all right, I get it, but I was screaming to connect with somebody else about this movie. But I was learning to build websites at the same time. I was like, why don't I just throw up a fan website?
What was it like? Like, what was the website like?
It's still there.
That's
if
amazing.
You look up Clerks, Kevin Smith website, he insisted that I keep it the same
Oh my God.
as I built it back in 95. So it's not super fancy or anything, but it did the job for me, whereas at the bottom I was like, hey, if you're a fan, contact me. I put my email address on there, and people from all over the world started emailing me.
Wow, you created your own forum.
A little bit, yeah. It was just email, but we didn't.
It's like a Facebook group, but not.
But through email.
Yeah.
I just wanted somebody to talk to.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. I think everyone can resonate with having watched something awesome and then wanting to signal boost and get other people to talk to.
Yeah, I think that's probably true for both of us. I mean, and not just movies, but like if I find a great restaurant or a bar or something, we
go evangelize.
Yeah, we got to tell people
everybody
about
needs
that.
to know.
Yeah, I found out there's a term for that. It's called the lighthouse.
Really?
Yeah, you're a lighthouse where you find something and then you kind of shine the light out into everybody else and bring attention.
That's literally what this podcast is. It's like my guest list is just all people that I talk about in my Instagram stories. And I'm like, pay attention. Pay attention to this person.
I appreciate that. I always love it when I get a tweet mentioning me.
I've
or
told
Instagram story.
all of my clients your story. This is what I noticed. I'm like, who do I talk about?
Right.
Who do I? And that's my entire guest list. It's just people that I talk about.
So I'm part of your life coaching. Inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Especially my super nerdy video clients.
Wow. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they would get it.
They would.
But through that fan website, the ultimate Clerks fan ended up seeing it. And that was Kevin Smith. He found it one day at a internet cafe in the next town over called Red Bank.
Mm-hmm.
He got in there. He was like, hey, can you show me this internet thing? And then he was like, I heard there was like a Clerks. There might be websites based on my movies. And the guy typed in the correct search terms.
Yeah.
I think it was on Yahoo at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And mine came up and he saw it. And he told me he was blown away because it looked like I took a magazine and put it on a computer screen.
Wow.
But it was like a magazine completely dedicated to his movie Clerks.
Right, which is a huge, I mean, in the days where that wasn't a thing, that's like probably a shock.
Yeah, and I think a huge light bulb went off in his head. He was like, hey, maybe I can use this to connect with my fan base.
Right.
And communicate with them, answer their questions, and find out, just get feedback.
I feel like that's a really important moment in a creator's life when they notice an easy path to signal boosting. And also, I feel like that's where I am right now. Like, I haven't been in this place for a while, but now the podcast thing, it was like, oh, I can see it now. And the girl I hired, Cassidy, to support me building my business, she said to me, you have everything. You have like connections and you know how to do, like, why haven't you been doing this? Right. And I was like, I just didn't have the right help yet. And I didn't have the idea. Right. And here it is. And so, but there is that moment where you realize suddenly, oh, this is how I could move forward. Yeah,
but he did it way back in 1995. Right. Whereas most people didn't discover, it's like I can communicate with my fans until Twitter came out in like 2008.
People are still discovering and not even understanding how to use it.
Yeah.
Very well.
But he said this big light bulb went off in his head. He was like, I got to contact this guy. So he literally just...
Emailed you?
He he had someone he was working with email me, and I still have that email. I keep it with me on my hard drives, or at one point I had it printed out, and I had it.
I would do that. I would blow it up and put it on a canvas.
For a while, but he was like, "Hey, I saw what you did. I loved it. He was like, give me a call tomorrow." I was like, "What?"
Okay, Kevin.
And this is 95. This is as if like Steven Spielberg or George Lucas was like, "Hey, man, give me a call tomorrow.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark or something."
Right.
Like Kevin was at that level with me, and I was like, "Holy crap!" So, I ended up calling here to New Jersey. Oddly enough, I was in Michigan at the time,
right?
So I didn't even know what.
That's where you're from, right?
Yeah, I had never been to New Jersey. I only knew New Jersey from Clerks.
Right.
Yeah, so I ended up calling him. He was like, "Hey, I think this internet thing might take off.
I think this internet thing might take off." Is like the greatest phrase.
Yeah. He was like, I really like what you did. I'm going to send you a list of what I want. Will you help me build a website for not just any one of my movies, but for my whole world. Yeah. He called it his production company is called View Askew Productions. Right. It was basically, will you help me build the View Askew universe? Oh. And I was like, let me think for a second. No. Yeah, of course. Yeah. 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 And I was a college, I was a junior at the time, I think. So I was just still going to school. And then at the time I was like, this is a Hollywood director contacting me.
Yep. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but he sent me this whole list of things that he wanted. But the one thing he really insisted on was a way to communicate with his fans. Wow. His initial idea was a chat room. But I was like, all right, chat room's cool, but you're going to have to schedule time. Yeah. You might have to block out an hour to sit there and answer people's questions. Why don't we do something like a message board instead, where people can post a question or a comment?
And he can come to it whenever he wants.
Yeah, you can answer one question, you can answer 1,000, you can spend a minute on it, you can spend all day on it, but you can do it around your own schedule. So he was like, wow, that's a great idea. So we set that thing up, and that message board ran for many, many years. I mean, you hear all these, it's the same story. People got married.
Wow.
Friendships were made.
That does happen
lifelong.
In fandoms.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, but the coolest part was Kevin himself would go and answer questions.
You get to talk to him.
Yeah, no matter how mundane or intricate, he would go and answer them. And at that time, 95, 96, to, again, if someone from the Hollywood system or someone that you were a big fan of that was famous answered your question, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is.
It was mind-blowing.
I mean, it still is.
Yeah.
To me, like...
Yeah, although like these days you can get blocked by the president.
You can get that.
Yeah, so it's a little easier now.
It is easier. I mean, you have to find a way to rise above noise.
Yeah. Sure.
But there's certain people who don't have a lot of noise around them, and so it's really easy to reach. Yeah. I love doing that. Like, it's one of my like little hobbies. Is I'm like, oh, I'm making this thing. Yeah. I'm making a dance from the Full House episode where Stephanie is in a dance competition. Yep. I'm going to get Jodie Sweetin to say something about it. And then I did.
Lo and behold.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, if it's like, I feel like there's a Venn diagram of things that happens where it's like nostalgic, well done, right? But not so overproduced that it looks like you're trying to do something.
Yeah, that was somewhat spontaneous.
Yeah, there's some spontaneity, which there was. I mean, I just took 2 hours out of my workday to learn this freaking dance, and then did it until it looked good enough. And then there she was.
Yeah, but you did it with passion.
That's true.
Which is the most important part.
Because I wasn't thinking, what can I do to get Jodie Sweetin to notice me? I was thinking, oh man,
and maybe she'll see
this
it.
dance. Yeah, and bonus, that's
she'll
probably see it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, hey, maybe Kevin Smith will see this one day and just email me and we'll say, hey, good job, kid.
It's gotta, the celebrity connection has to be the like separate icing goal, not the goal.
Right. Yeah, that's literally all I wanted was maybe Kevin to email me one day and be like, hey, that website you made was
You
pretty
got a
cool.
lot more than that.
I got way more than that. I got way more than that. So, but yeah, that message board really kind of changed things, definitely in my life, but for him as well, because he was able to get feedback from his fans.
How good for him. Like, how good for his creative process. Yeah. It's awesome.
And, I guess, so, and it's, I think a week ago, he had written an article for the Oscars blog or website, and he talked about the launch of that website.
Rad.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Like, he got on the Oscars.
It's on the Oscars website, the Academy Awards website.
It is rad when you're working for somebody who's big and then your work ends up being places that you never.
That's awesome. It's
like
awesome.
I produced a music video once for a video client I had, Marie Forleo, and we did a Jay-Z lip dub. And Jay-Z's cousin was like at her event, and she was like, I just texted it to him, and I just cried.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we were at an after party, and my assistant editor Justin was like, "You okay, lady?" I was like, "I'm just."
These are happy tears.
Yeah, I was just so overwhelmed by the idea. Like, I don't even know that he definitely saw it. I just know it got texted to him. I'm like, "That's enough. I just can't."
That's a pretty safe assumption that he did. So,
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So that kind of changed a lot of things I guess for both of us, but for me especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what did your life look like after that? Like, did you keep doing corporate?
Well, so I built the website that he wanted, launched it. It was cool. We were able to build a pretty cool, like, a fan base.
Yeah.
Which was, far and wide reaching from people around the world, but still, if you hung out on that message board, you were still part of this cool underground club still. And so Kevin took it a little bit farther, where we would hold like all-day film festivals here by his comic book shop.
Well, you moved here
eventually.
Yeah.
But not at first.
Yeah. How long did you stay in Michigan?
I was in I ended up graduating the next year. I went and got that real job in the Maryland, Virginia area.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Is that yeah. I never even had thought to ask Kevin for a full-time job.
Sure.
Like, he was just about to go into production on Chasing Amy, his third film. The film before that didn't do so well. So
Which one was before that? Mallrats, which is a freaking masterpiece.
It's great now, but at the box office,
I get it.
Yeah, they didn't really market it correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he wasn't swimming in it. Had it made $100 million, he probably would have hired me on the spot, I imagine. Right. But it was kind of like, hey, thanks for helping me out. And I just graduated college, so I was like, all right, next step is go get a real job, which I did. But while I was doing the real job by day, at night I would work on all the Kevin stuff for the website. A very
valid move. I feel like sometimes people think that getting that job is somehow giving up on something. Yeah. And look, like, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, but it's not, though.
It's not.
The day job was great, paid the bills, and I felt I did it I committed a lot of time to it. I did my best there. But at night I work on the Kevin stuff, which I really loved.
Right.
So you learn a huge appreciation for that.
Right.
Where, it was like, well, if I didn't have the Kevin thing, I would just be toiling on projects that I didn't really care about. Right. But once the clock hit 5:30, drive home, work on stuff that I really loved.
Ideal.
And you just get such a way bigger sense of appreciation.
And you have the energy for it at that age, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely...
At 21, 22,
like,
yeah.
Now it's the idea, and I do it sometimes, but the idea of getting to the end of my workday and then doing something else.
It gets tougher as you get older, sure.
I mean, I do it, but I also have a kid.
Right, you're a mother, you're a wife.
Yeah.
You've got other things to do as well.
Right.
I get it. So I work corporate jobs for maybe another 5 or 6 years, so before Kevin hired me full time, though, an interesting happened. I get contacted by Ben Affleck.
What?
Who was like, "Hey, that website you built for Kevin, can you build me one too?" Because Ben ended up hanging out on Kevin's message board a lot.
That's hysterical and amazing.
I think Kevin was kind of maybe jokingly or maybe not. I was like, "Dude, why don't you just go get your own website? Why are you hanging out on mine?" And so he did, and he was like, "Hey, well, you appear to be the guy who does these things. Can you build me one too?"
Come on, Affleck.
Yeah, so I built him one, and soon after that, he was like, "Hey, I'm starting an internet startup company. I may want to hire you." I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Okay."
There's a lot of like...
yeah, but I was like, "All right, this is Hollywood. This is probably never even going to happen."
Sure.
But it did. He started, him and Matt Damon, Oscar winners.
Yes.
Started up a internet startup company. They started a company called Live Planet, which they produced the hit HBO TV show called Project Greenlight that a lot of people might remember. Yeah, it was a...
I might be too young.
You might be. It was the year 2000, 2001. It was a script competition TV show where on the internet you would submit your script. You're a screenwriter, amateur screenwriter, submitted to our website. The other contestants would randomly be assigned a script, and then they would have to rate it. And then the top 10 went on to a further competition, and they would whittle it down to one ultimate winner who got to make and direct their script.
You know, that's interesting because I went to school for film, and, you know, because you need
Because film.
Yeah, because film. And I feel like it was in the zeitgeist, the idea of being the ones to write the next Good Will Hunting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was a thing, and now I'm,
I think that definitely inspired this concept.
It was always in my head when I was thinking, I'll be a screenwriter. I definitely pursued that for a minute, and I was like, gotta be the next Good Will Hunting, gotta star in it, and you know, whatever. Yeah,
so they turned that. So it was ahead of its time, this because it was combining the internet, the real world, and reality TV.
Right.
And it was kind of a cool concept. It was very ahead of its time. But I worked on that for a year.
Bring it back.
I think they did do a fourth season recently. Yeah.
How did it do?
I'm not sure. I think we live in a different world now, too.
This is very, very
where,
very
you know,
true.
you can whip out your iPhone and make your own movie.
Right.
Where back then it was a little harder.
So it needs to be like some new version of it.
Yeah, which they could do. Yeah.
They could.
Yeah. So I ended up moving to LA for a year to work for Live Planet. And then when that ended, it actually ended mainly because of 9/11. A lot of our future projects that we had on the slate got completely axed because we were living in a different world.
Right.
So I remember there was a day where I think they laid off like 80% of the people who worked there.
Wow.
Which stunk because I was like, I just moved here. You promised me riches.
I feel like people are going through that now with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've heard so many people. I just got the acting job of my life, and then COVID.
Right.
And it's like, why is that happening?
Yeah.
You know, like what's conspiring to have you go somewhere else?
Yeah, just these things you cannot predict in life will happen, and things that you can't even really prepare for.
No way to.
Even they're like, hey, you should prepare for a rainy day. Like you can't, but you don't see you don't think that rainy day is going to be a monsoon for sure. It was, I think October 2001. You know, they were like, hey, we're having this big meeting tomorrow, and then like, hey, I'm sorry, but tomorrow we're going to be letting a lot of you go. Like we're sorry, but this is the world we live in, and we just got a bunch of our future projects axed, so we don't have any money, and you basically got nothing to work on either.
Yeah.
So, but CHR tomorrow, they'll give you a severance check, and then thank you for your service, basically.
Wow.
So I was pretty bummed out about that, but the next day I emailed Kevin. I was like, hey, I don't know if you heard the news, but we're all being let go. He was like, huh, really? He's like, you know what? Why don't you come work full time for me?
Shit.
I'm like, really? This is like literally a day after. I was like, holy crap. I was like, you want like full, like you're.
Well, and I just want to pause here to point out that you just got back in touch with him just to communicate, just to be like, hey, this is happening right now.
Well, I mean, him and Brendan were friends, so I thought maybe he had heard.
Yeah.
So I just
well,
thought
and that's
I'd reach
smart
out.
though.
Yeah.
Like there's these markers in your story where you do something that is you taking action toward a potential future that you could imagine the possibility of it, and you're not stopped by like, well, that'll never happen. And then because you could easily have just never emailed him because I don't want to bother him, or he probably whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking he'd go that far and hire me. I thought I was more like, hey, can I put you down as a contact for future jobs?
Brilliant.
Which would be pretty awesome if they were into film, and Kevin and
I have references.
I have Kevin Smith on my reference sheet. That would make me stand out.
So like that right there is this vision where you're like, that could happen.
Sure.
And so that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in with people like you who you actually go as far as to, imagine a future where this thing could be possible.
Yeah, it just kind of stuck. I was stuck in LA with now I didn't have a job, and I didn't know, I'm for anybody who's been laid off, and I'm going to think that's probably most of you.
That's a lot of people right now.
Listening or watching right now. It sucks.
It absolutely sucks, and I think it can be hard to think of potential anything because that black hole can suck you in, the sadness or the disappointment.
It's devastating. Even if you get like a decent severance check, you're like, well, I now have no purpose in life.
What do I? Yeah. I think that's a tough time to be able to think about things, and also I think it's a bit alluring, the victimhood of it.
Sure.
It feels good. It's not like a good. It's
Right.
it's a bad good. It's like
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and you start thinking dark thoughts for a while.
Yeah.
Eventually, and if anyone's going through it right now, I'm here to tell you, you eventually pull yourself out of that darkness.
Yeah, and sometimes you need other people to.
Right, and sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes I'm not gonna say it's always a good thing. But
No, but I do think like having some strife in your life is a good thing for people. You know, you can imagine
Yeah.
you went through your entire life and nothing bad ever happened.
Oh, I can't imagine that. 'Cause
I
you don't
literally
learn.
I dated someone who said that to me. Because I dated a guy who he said something that embarrassed me. He repeated something I said to him privately in
Okay.
front of a group of people, and he was making fun of me.
Right.
And I don't know. I dated a lot of losers, man. That did this to me, but I was like, "Oh, that really embarrassed." Like I told him that it embarrassed me,
yeah.
and he couldn't understand that.
Right.
I'm like, "Haven't you ever been embarrassed?" And he looks at me. He goes, "No."
Wow,
And I was like, "What?
it's crazy.
You have?" I mean, it's college, so I guess he's got some life left to live or whatever.
Oh yeah,
but like,
for sure. Big time.
yeah, I always thought, can you imagine going through life
No.
and never?
No, because that changes you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin he emailed me back. He's like, "Hey, why don't you come work for me full time? Like this is how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
However, I have one catch." I'm like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Well, you have to move to New Jersey."
Aha.
And I was like, "Well,
One of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
I was like, well, I just got to LA. I've been here. I've been living there maybe 8-9 months, but." Of course I was going to say yes, but I took a little time to think. I was like, okay, maybe I could get a job out here that I'm not going to love, that may involve a horrible commute. I don't know the people.
Right.
There were so many cons that I was like, all right, Jersey sounds good. I'm going to chill for a couple months, have fun with the severance package, explore Los Angeles while I'm here.
Brilliant.
And then I'll see you on the 1st of January.
Nice.
And so that's
What did he have you do?
when I got here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that was funny. So I get settled in. He's like, "Hey, let's talk." First day I was there, I got there. He's like, "So yeah, that's what he asked me." He's like, "So what do you want to do?" I was like, "Oh, I was like, well, one, I'm going to maintain all the things I've built for you up until this point.
Right.
The last 6 years of, but we could go even bigger. So I had set up his online merchandise store. I was like, we could definitely market that more. We could expand this website even more.
Right.
And he was like, all right, great, go do that. So
I think
and it was more convenient because he was there. I was in the office.
Yeah, I bet.
And I was not doing stuff remotely anymore.
And you can I don't know, ideate together.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's rad.
However, 2 months after I got there, he was like, "Hey man, guess what?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm moving to LA."
Oh jeez.
I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Ben Affleck sold me his old house in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills. I'm moving to LA. You should come along. Like you should move there too." I'm like, "Bro, I was just there. I was there. I could have. You're telling me I could have stayed.
Give me a house.
Yeah, I could have. I moved. Like Lunkhead, I moved 2 months ago for you, and now you're going back. And you want me to move back?
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I'm gonna hang out here because he was like, well, we're gonna keep the store and office here. So, whenever you're ready.
The secret stash.
Yeah.
Was already. When did the secret stash
open? 1997. Rad. Been open.
It was this mysterious place that we all took and a special journey to.
Kevin Smith's comic book store.
I remember when I went. I mean, it's like, and not that it's a letdown, but it's just a store. So like you have this thing in your head. It's like, I'm gonna go to. I'm
gonna go in and like he's gonna put me in a movie or something.
Yeah, something's gonna
or
happen
Jay
when
will
I
be
get
there, and it's not. Yeah.
And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it happens to some people. But because sometimes they're there.
Yeah.
Somebody's there.
Yeah. So he ends up moving to LA. I stay here, and for a while we kind of entertained this thing. It was like, oh, I'll come out next year, but I ended up I had a kid, bought a house.
Right.
Like it was looking more and more like there was no way I was going out there. And I didn't.
Right.
And as you get older, if you've been to LA or if you're thinking about going to LA, when you get older, you do not want to go to LA anymore. So it sucks. I love visiting. I love hanging out with my friends who do live there, but I don't think I would ever live there again.
Yeah, I won't live there.
There are little things about that town that are completely soul crushing,
mm-hmm.
and I don't need my soul crushed anymore. So, But yeah, well, you know, that the whole run though, it was cool. I more or less became like Kevin's social media manager before there was any social media.
Right.
So that was fun. But
That's rad.
You know, the people are like, what do you do day to day? I'm like, oh, it changes.
Yeah.
One day, you know, you might be building a website for something or coordinating an event and marketing it online. You might be creating new merchandise. The next day, you might be going to Long Island to pick up weed for Kevin, which I did.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, you never know. Or, you know, or you'll be driving something to the private airport hangar that he needs before he flies out to LA. Like, these are all like such wacky things.
Yeah.
But it defied any kind of description.
It reminds me of, I interned for Conan O'Brien for a while, and it was like that.
Yeah.
It was like, well, Nelly's coming on the show, and we want to get him a jersey of his favorite sports team. Can you go to Brooklyn? I'm like, I don't even know where Brooklyn is.
Right. Get this number, get this thing on the back, and then come back with it in 3 hours or whatever.
I had I saved when I worked there. I saved every single Post-it note I ever got with like details on what run I had to do. And
that's cool.
I don't have it anymore.
Oh,
I don't know where it went.
It's somewhere.
No. We cleaned out my childhood home and we
man.
sold it, and I didn't want to go back and look through everything.
Oh, so it's just gone
It
somewhere.
got thrown out.
Oh,
I'm
that
pretty
stinks.
sure. Oh man,
Yeah.
is that Conan?
There's a Conan O'Brien pop figure up there.
I literally, my eyes just landed on it.
I actually
right
think
after
I have like
said that.
4. I probably have 4 of them.
I love Conan. I adored working there. It was really fun. It was super fun.
So through working for Kevin's always a forward thinker. So a website years before anybody else created their own website. Podcast, yeah, started that in 2007.
I didn't even realize that, but then he was on Rogan, and Rogan's like, dude, you started this. And he's like, no, man, you're doing it.
But you're the king. He's like, but you started it.
Yeah.
He totally started. Yeah, way back in 2007.
Right.
So, but then he got all of us into it. So we started podcasting.
Yeah.
And in a roundabout way, that led to us getting on TV. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Comic Book Men thing was, when did that?
It premiered February 12th, 2012.
2012.
We shot the first season in the fall of 2011. And we got 7 seasons and 96 episodes.
Rad.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's super awesome.
It was fun.
I love that you say, I'm the Asian.
I'm the Asian, yeah. Yeah, out of, everybody, the 3 guys I'm on the show, or 4 counting Kevin, or 5 counting Jay, are all old white dudes. So it was cool.
Differentiate yourself.
Yeah, and it's not like, and something like that when you get cast on a reality TV show where you get to play yourself, it's way, I mean, not that I've done like anything else really.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's way more fun than getting cast for something.
100%.
Yeah, because I got to play myself. I got to joke around with my friends.
Yeah.
Didn't have to travel anywhere. We shot in the same location every day for the most part.
Was it always at the stash?
Always at the stash, yeah. We did it during the summers here in Red Bank, so that's a great environment.
That's super fun. Yeah, TV can be grueling.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you really like doing and it's fun, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I tell people, oh man, it was tough, man, but it really wasn't. We would start shooting at like 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd typically wrap by 6. There would be, one hour. Yeah, they would bring you your lunch. Like you could order. It's like, well, what do you want for lunch today? And we patronize the local restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, ooh, I can get like a live green salad from Good Karma and a bottle of kombucha.
You're not paying for it.
Yeah. It's on production budget.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, on set is a wonderful place when there's craft services.
Craft service is the best.
Woo!
Yeah. I would go visit if Kevin was shooting around here or wherever. If I was close by, he's like, "Hey, come watch us shoot." Ugh. And then I'd get there and like, "All right, where's the craft service truck?"
Yeah, that's the first thing.
And I would go and I would freaking raid that thing, and then I'd be like, "Hey, can you make me a breakfast sandwich?" And they're like, "You are?" I was like, "Oh, I'm with Kevin." "Oh, okay, all right."
And then anything.
Yeah.
I've seen craft service people who take their job so seriously, but like in a lovely way, where they just really want to. They're like, I have an omelet station. I'll make you whatever you want.
Yeah.
Or like, I've only had a few of these experiences on set, but they are like their own little art form.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And they take it very seriously.
I love it.
And they don't. Yeah.
I just love people who love what they do.
Yeah. That's one. And you're still in the industry, so
yeah.
It beats being a fry cook at
100%.
Applebee's or something, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a story about, I guess, how I got on TV and started podcasting and
that's rad.
All of that. And now I run a podcast studio based on my love of podcasting.
And we're both wearing merch.
And the fact that you are here podcasting with me and you've been in here multiple times makes me really happy.
Well, me too.
And even the networking group that we met at, I went to a networking event thrown by them about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I was like, wow, half these people have been in the
podcasts.
Studio or have started a podcast here.
Yeah, it's
and it was
rad.
pretty cool. And the rest of them have heard that the other members have started a podcast or a podcast. They want to do it too.
Yeah, so. So my coach training program that I'm a leader of, accomplishment coaching, has an arm of the company called Accomplishment Media, and it like gives coaches a platform to do exactly this. And we send like a kit with microphones so you can do it at home. And we have producers who edit, and they're like, we'll produce it. And I'm like, I have Ming. I'm still running. They're actually like, I'm still part of Accomplishment Media, and this is going through. It's on their website. It's all going through them. But they're like, you don't need anything else. I'm like, I'm covered.
For sure.
I definitely want to support, and I think it's great for brand new coaches to be able to just start a podcast and have all the stuff that they need and all the. I was like, I don't even need the editing. I can do it. Like I don't need to pay for something that I could do myself because I used to do it.
Yeah.
For a living.
You did.
For quite a while.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I dip in and hire people because I don't have time, but
right. I'm learning that's the path to success is delegation, which I'm slowly learning through my thick head.
You have to know, like, okay, so for example, I just hired a new assistant.
Yes.
Like 2 nights. I'm talking to her tomorrow morning to get
awesome.
clear.
I would love an assistant.
Well, I have a really great one. I haven't started working with her yet, but I've been screening her for months.
Right.
This is actually the slowest hire I've ever done. I usually am really like knee jerk to hire people. Yeah. But and I literally messaged her and I was like, you have tattoos and piercings, and I think you're my new assistant.
Yeah. Hired.
Will you follow up with me in a month because I'm not ready yet? And then she did follow up with me, which I was like, well, good. You can take direction. You did what I said. And then
that's funny. I'm not allowed to give that kind of feedback to a potential female hire. I don't think so. Nor would I, but
you could say, hey, I'm not ready to hire you yet, but could you follow up with me?
But hey, nice piercings and tattoos.
Oh, that part. I got it. Yeah,
we live in a different world.
We do live in a different world. You can't say that, I
guess.
guess.
Not that I would do that anyways before that, but
be a little creepy.
A little bit.
Maybe it was creepy that I did it. I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
But then I interviewed her. And then I said, I'm still not ready to hire you. I don't know what you're going to do yet. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go engage with this marketing team, and I'm going to just notice once I get overwhelmed, what could you be doing? And so now I have this list in my head.
Yeah, so you mapped it out already.
Oh, I have so much. I emailed her, I Instagram DM'd her. I'm like, I'm ready now. She's like, okay, so December? I'm like, okay, so tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Yeah. Can we go? And so we're talking tomorrow. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I have so many things for her to do.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Mostly a lot about around this podcast.
Yeah. So is this the part where I talk about my bullshit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Thanks for remembering.
Yes.
Yeah. So what bullshit are you still on?
I mean, I don't like to sit still. So, of course, there's the million projects that I want to get to that I should get to that I create multiple excuses for not getting into. One of them is some kind of book. Not necessarily about my life, just any kind of published book. And I have a couple great ideas. I think they would be...
Can you tell
any of them? Totally. Okay. I think the one thing that I probably should have come up with years ago, but it would still be relevant now, is some kind of comic book man episode guide. Where... and I'm inspired. Years ago, I got this. It was a Simpsons episode guide. It's so well done. Very colorful, really well laid out. And they go through episode by episode. With like quotes, pictures, some inside information.
I need that because I was never allowed to watch The Simpsons as a kid. And I have never like done I'm going to watch this show.
Yeah.
I need that.
You need. Do you watch the show now?
Nope.
Oh, watch the show
I'm
first.
I'm a little all or nothing. Like I'm like, well, if I'm not going to sit down and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm not gonna just,
well, that's a tough.
I know it is, but I'm gonna do it at some point, just like Star Wars.
I think I'm not even gonna put you up to that. I'll put you up to the first 5 seasons.
Okay.
They're brilliant.
That's good. Okay, I'll do that soon.
But they came with this brilliant episode guide.
That's awesome that there's an episode guide. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, why don't I do one? Like, the fans are still out there.
Yeah.
I lived it. I was there. I can get contributions from the other guys, or even Kevin, to maybe even put a quote for each episode.
Right.
I was like, why am I not doing this? I was like, well, I just don't have time. But
Yeah.
But it should not be rocket science. I know. I lived it. I know
I guess
it was
you just
there.
really need like a plan and a support structure. Like I've been writing a book for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
And it's like painfully slow.
Right.
Because my friend Mark and I, who I'm writing with another coach, Mark Hunter, about partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the leader of the program that I got trained in as a coach. And now we're both senior leaders. So we've gone through this transformation of him being like an authority to us being best friends.
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
so we're right?
Yeah.
We're writing about like how to do that.
Right.
How to dismantle hierarchy and power dynamics between people and build trust and respect. And
that's way cooler than an episode guide. But
well, okay. You're not allowed to diminish yourself. I forgot to set the
I
ground
know.
rules
Okay.
of this podcast. You're not allowed. I'll tell everybody from here.
But I was also thinking like, maybe someone out there could potentially come up with an episode guide, but they could not. They don't have the inside information
maybe there's someone who could partner with you on it, where they
do the more mundane facts.
They do mundane stuff, but they also hold the fuel. Like they are so fired up about it that they're the one coming to you being like, "Hey," or you have you have a call every 2 weeks, or you have like,
so how you doing? Like, well,
like we paid a book editor, and we talk to her every 2 weeks,
right? And she pushes you.
And she reads everything. She leaves comments,
right?
And then she gives us assignments.
That's cool.
She's like, I want to hear more of this. I would like for you to rewrite this part from this perspective. I need you to add more stories to this part.
I think if I ever get that far, of course, I probably will hire an editor. The toughest part, I think all I really need to do is start.
Probably.
Well,
actually, all you really need to do is say by when it'll be done.
Yeah.
So?
But the bullshit part is one, I'm like, all right, well, all I need to do is start it, but I haven't yet.
Well, by when will it be done?
I better do it quick before people forget about the show.
That's probably true.
But, so what is let's say a year. It'll be done in a year.
So let's see, what day?
November 19th, November 21st. 2021. Are you putting it in your calendar?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's when I invite you to the book launch then.
Fabulous. So we're going to have a book launch on November.
Yeah, but the bullshit is like, I think the bullshit is like, I've never written a book before. How can I do this? But that's, of course, that's bullshit.
Everyone who writes a book has never written a book before.
Exactly.
That's a fun fact for you.
Yeah, and the other bullshit holding me back is, and not that this is I was like, this isn't a bad thing, but we did 96 episodes, so I would have to do 96.
Yeah.
Recaps.
It's a really nerdy undertaking.
It is.
But it's extraordinarily nerdy.
I can see it once I get going. I probably won't even want to stop. So
probably not.
Yeah.
And look, we could actually do. I'm not going to do this right now, but you could do math and just look at like how many weeks are between now and then. Well, I guess it's exactly.
It'd be 52. But yeah.
Unless it's a leap year, whatever.
Right.
You could get really exact and like actually make a plan for how you're going to do it, and then hire somebody or look, there's probably a lot of nerds listening to this who would do it for free, who would help you for free.
Schedule,
If anyone wants to help Ming with his book for free.
No, I don't. I believe in compensation. So.
Well, so I've hired a lot of interns in my life.
Yeah, I'm going to need your advice on that soon.
I'll just tell you right now that there's lots of people who are in school who are required to have an internship.
Right.
And it's pretty simple. Like the internship will require like you write a letter and they write a paper on it, and there's a specified amount of time, and there's like, here are your duties.
Right.
I've had probably 40 interns.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be talking.
Yeah, I've hired a lot of people.
We'll be talking.
And it's like it's only people who are really driven and like want the experience, and I'll hire them eventually for pay.
Sure. Yep.
So I'm good for it if I find the right people.
I hear you.
But yeah, let's see. Okay, Ming's book launch.
Book launch, November 21st, 2021.
Yep.
Okay, it's in the books, so to speak.
Does it have a unique title other than?
I haven't come up with
that,
guide? But even if it was simply that, I think that could sell itself.
It could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Does not repeat all day.
Yep. Repeats yearly, so each year I have a book launch. Which, hey, you never know. Because I do, the other book idea is, I travel a lot. I love to eat. I'm always trying to take you to restaurants and stuff. So, pho. So, the underground restaurant, speakeasy, dive bar guide is also in my head.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I've been to enough places, and it's gotten to the point where my friends who are also traveling, they're like, hey, I'm in Nashville. Where should I eat? Where's the hidden bar?
And
where should I drink, and I will text them exactly where they should go and where they should eat for a great experience. And then afterwards, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't. Thank you for telling me about that place. Would have never found it myself, and I had such a great time."
That's a really good. I mean, you could even start that as a blog, and then just have someone else turn it into a book for you once you're done.
Right. Yeah.
Also a thing.
Yeah.
You could also have an intern or somebody else interview you every week about something, and then they go write it.
Right.
There's lots of things.
Yeah, and then that could turn into a TV show. You never know. Yeah.
Oh man, I would so watch you going to a bunch of dive bars.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just come with me?
Or we could do that.
Yeah. Or co-host with me.
Are we gonna? Is this happening right now? We're gonna make a show together.
Yeah, because I think we need like a dynamic.
Okay.
I think we have a pretty good dynamic.
I think we do too.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a show.
We're visually.
I love speakeasies. Like I love them. I've been to like 2 ever.
Oh,
There's one in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, inside the hot dog shop.
That was PDT. Yeah, please don't tell. Yeah, great place.
And then I just went to one that's brand new, also on the Lower East Side. I want to say that's inside of a bodega. And,
yes.
And then you go through, and my friend actually who just called me, my friend Christine knows the person who created it, so we went there on one of the nights. Yeah, and it's beautiful on the inside, and they had like spiked hot chocolate, and like there's just so many cool.
Yeah, New York's full of them.
Oh,
but,
I love New York for these reasons.
Chicago's got the best ones.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, they were, Al Capone, bootlegging, they were kind of the originators. So
I definitely didn't explore. I went to Chicago for the Improv Festival, also where my husband and I did it for the first time.
Hey. Hats off to him and you, but him more. Good job.
Good job, Justin.
Good job, Justin.
He did do a good job.
I'm sure he did. I have no doubt.
Yeah, he really never let on that he was interested in me at all.
Oh, well, that kind of makes it more fun then.
It did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was always like, but...
Huh? Wait a minute. Are you in? Okay.
We were friends for a few years before. Yeah.
Well, that's good too.
That's good too.
That's great.
Actually, he hired me to work for him. He's smart.
He's very smart.
I went to Grace and I. My friend Grace and I were doing a stage show, and we needed a director who didn't know us that well, but who was a great comedian. And she was like, "What about that Justin Akin kid?" Mm-hmm. Back we were young enough that we were still calling people kids.
Yeah, you're like, Justin. You still call people kids.
I guess I do sometimes.
Yeah.
But we went to a brunch, and I told him that I had 4 jobs, and he said to me, "How much would I need to pay you hourly for you to quit all 4 of your jobs?"
Oh.
And so I said a number, and he was like, "You're hired.
Okay.
When will you quit?"
Oh.
And then I was his like producer,
video
editor. I walked his dog. I got his dry cleaning. Sometimes I cooked. Like I was just around doing I painted his apartment, the Action Pals colors, because that was our sketch group.
Yeah. Then you married him.
And then I married him.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half later.
Yeah, had a kid.
Well, a year and a half later, started dating, and then 3 years after that, married him.
That's great.
And then had a kid.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. We made a lot of cool stuff together.
I see that. Yes.
Yeah.
And more to come. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we've both been pretty, you know how having kids just kind of...
Well, you focus your attention.
Yeah, your creative...
Your energies.
I mean, that's your that for me, literally, my creative energy all was going to the baby. It should be interesting. So Stella Santana, who's the next guest up, is pregnant right now. So I'm really excited to ask her about like how that's infecting her music and what she sees for the future and stuff like that. That's definitely...
That's cool.
Because I just stopped when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Wow. I was too depressed in my first trimester. I was like, I'm not making anything. Pregnancy is weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the other thing that bullshit was the studio. Mm-hmm. Seems to be working out pretty well right now.
Yeah.
I want these in every major city, and there are ways to go about that I haven't explored yet. Money, of course, is one of them. But there's money out there. There's investors out there. There's people right under my nose, friends that are doing very well that would probably help me out.
Right.
And invest some of their extra money, or just see it as a good investment. I have not put together that pitch yet. I have not pitched them.
I'm a good person to say all of this to.
Yeah,
I'm not going to leave you alone now.
Yeah. I've not. I've not even really hinted. Well, I've hinted a little bit, but I think if I really have to just put all that together and ask. I think, but I've never done it before, so I'm held back by that a little bit.
Yeah,
but that's bullshit.
That's also bullshit. Yeah, because anything you had never, made a website for Kevin
right.
Smith.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
did that.
Good point. Yeah. So
I feel like sometimes the longer you're doing stuff, the more your bullshit creeps in.
Sure. Absolutely.
Especially because like you've already had some major success. So it's like, well, you know, what if it doesn't work this time?
Yeah. Right.
That's always like the second book is always worse than the first book because it's like, well, that one worked, but what if this one doesn't?
But you still did it though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So,
very true.
but you know, once this pandemic is over, I want to open a shared universe in Atlanta and Houston and Chicago.
Atlanta, Houston, Chicago. Got it. Okay.
Well, I have people I can crash with in those 3 cities.
Understood.
So,
that's smart.
Yeah.
Go where your resources are.
Yeah. Who needs to pay hotel bills?
No.
Crash. I just need a couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta bootstrap stuff. I feel like people who are like, well, I don't have the money to do this. It's like, you figure stuff out.
The money's out there.
Yeah, and if you like, I don't know, it's just like a mental thing because it's just a mental hurdle to get over. As I feel like as soon as you say this is absolutely going to happen, then all of the doors start opening and everything starts to fall in front of you.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. So they're like, all I see are closed doors. It's like, well, you haven't actually said that you want to go anywhere.
Right.
So why would you expect any doors to open?
You got to walk up to the door and
like
turn
in
the
video
knob.
games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you have to be like, you have to walk into that area in order to discover what the magic of that area is.
Absolutely.
And people are like, well, I keep hitting roadblocks, so that must mean something. And it's like in video games, you meet an enemy. That means you're going in the right direction.
Right. You got to defeat the minor bosses before you get to the major ones.
Or just like the putties, whatever.
The putties from Power Rangers?
Yes.
So funny.
I was a big Power Rangers fan. I was a pink Power Ranger in 3rd grade for Halloween.
Amy Jo Johnson.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amy Jo Johnson.
Yeah.
Love her.
I had no idea you were a Power Rangers fan.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten drunk with most of them.
That's amazing. Shut up.
Yeah.
No, I can't. My brain hurts.
This is for a whole nother podcast.
Oh my God, we'll have to have you on again.
But I mean, like, I guess life is going good when you're dancing on a stage with Walter Jones, the 100%. Black Power Ranger, and at a Vanilla Ice concert.
Oh my
God.
God.
On the stage with Vanilla Ice.
We just have to have an entire episode where we go back and forth and say the most random celebrities that we've encountered in some way.
Just call it the nepotism adventures.
Yes.
Or whatever, or name dropping.
Name drop. Just have a name drop episode. I think that would be really fun for me.
I think that's funny.
Okay, we're gonna do that. That's gonna be a future episode. Everyone listening, so watch for the name drop episode. Yeah. It'd be really fun. I'm gonna start writing them down. Okay, so the last thing I want to ask is, and we kind of did this already, but I'm gonna see where you're at now.
Okay.
So for anybody who's stuck in their bullshit right now, what advice do you have for them?
I keep hearing this expression that keeps coming up over and over, and it's just 2 simple words. It's just be bold. Be bold. Meaning, if you're holding back from something, just imagine you were a little bit bolder. What would you do? And that can be as simple as, will I go up and ask this girl, buy her a drink?
Right.
Which we don't have to worry about anymore because we're married.
Thank goodness.
Or is it be bold as in, hey, go set up a meeting with that investor, or go rent that office space that you're going to turn into a studio in Houston, or ask for advice, or or even if you do get the studio space, like, well, how am I going to make this look? It's like, well, be bold about it.
Right.
And it keeps coming up over and over, and it's pretty good advice.
I like that.
It's one that I wish I had a lot earlier in life, but
hey, it worked out though.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, for sure.
You can make shirts.
Yeah. But I find myself just asking for stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it's been happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, just these crazy things that that people are like, you can't ask for that. They're never going to give that to you. And then they do. There
are 0 people I asked to be on this podcast who said no.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
And I was worried.
Yeah. I think, my favorite expression is if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Absolutely.
So just ask.
But it does, I will say, it feels really vulnerable and horrible to send those messages and then be like, waiting.
Yeah.
And I know.
And it's always waiting. They rarely do you get an answer back like within 24 hours.
No. I mean, some people did because they're like friends of mine.
Sure.
But like others, they're busy.
Yeah.
Especially if they've like seen the message and then it's like, okay, they saw it. But, like, I see lots of stuff and go, okay, I'll answer that later.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
I mean, all the time. Constantly. So I have to, like, remind myself of that. Yeah. But it is, like, freaking nerve-wracking to make requests and to ask people for things, but like it's the only way you get anything.
Just ask. And I know it's tough. Asking for money is really hard.
Yes.
Even if you deserve it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And asking for busy people's time.
Right. Yeah. Although right now people shouldn't be that busy right now.
I mean, some of the people I asked just have big projects going on. They're hustling.
Yeah, that's
and they
good
don't
for
have time.
them.
But they're like, oh, I can do it in January. Oh, I can do it in March. And they're really awesome guests. I mean, like I'm excited about every single person that said yes for this. And so I'm just jazzed that I get to just, talk to people.
Yeah.
So thanks you said to me at that Shore Hustle networking event, you were like, you got to get back in the podcast studio. That is actually what had me think maybe,
I just missed you being in here, really. But you've got great messages. You motivate people. You inspire people. You post, when you're posting, either whether it's an Insta story or you banging on plastic cups or whatever, it's inspiring. I think people see that as like, wow, that's really cool. Like I want to live a life. I want to live my life like that, just having fun but getting stuff done and not holding back and no bullshit.
No bullshit. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Ming, not only for the use of the studio
anytime,
but just for sharing your whole story with people, and for the future TV show we're going to have, and the book that you're going to write, and all of the podcast studios you're going to open in Houston, Atlanta, and Chicago.
Right. More to come, but yes.
And then more.
And more.
And more. All right. This has been Break Up With Your Bullshit with Ming Chen and me, Michelle Akin. Thank you so much for listening, and check the next episode with Stella Santana.